The February cold bit through my coat as I climbed the porch steps. I'd left the legal clinic at 3:30, satisfied with the work we'd done for the Martinez family. I turned my key in the lock and stepped into the warmth of my home, the house I'd lived in for 37 years. I hung my coat on the rack and moved down the hallway. That's when I saw it. The study door stood slightly ajar. I always closed it. Always. The prosecutor's instinct I'd honed over 3 decades kicked in instantly. I pushed the door open slowly. Papers littered my desk like fallen leaves. Drawers gaped open. But what stopped my breath was the bookshelf. Someone had moved it aside. The safe stood exposed, its door hanging open like a mouth frozen mid-scream. I approached the safe. The velvet-lined interior was nearly empty. My father's Rolex Submariner was gone. The silver cigarette case had vanished. The cash, $8,500, was missing. I ran my fingers over the safe dial. No scratches, no damage. Someone had opened it with a combination. Only 3 people knew that combination. Me, my daughter Evelyn, and her husband Austin. The realization settled over me like ice water. I walked toward the living room. Austin sprawled on my couch, feet up on my coffee table. Evelyn sat in the armchair, biting her thumbnail. Neither looked up. Were either of you in my study today? My voice came out steady, professional. Austin's head snapped around. What? No. Why? Someone broke into my safe. I kept my eyes on Evelyn. My father's watch is gone. The cash for my tax payment. Evelyn's face went pale. She still wouldn't look at me. Austin jumped up. Are you serious? Someone robbed you? We've been here all day. We would have heard something. Would you? I shifted my gaze to him. Evelyn, I don't know anything about it, Dad. You're asking us? You think we had something to do with this? Austin's voice climbed an octave. I haven't accused anyone of anything, I said quietly. I asked a question. This is unbelievable. After everything we've done for you, living here, helping you out since Mom died, and you're accusing us of stealing. He paced now. Maybe you misplaced them, Victor. You're not getting any younger. Memory plays tricks at your age. Did you check your other drawers? The safe was opened with a combination, not broken into, opened. Austin stopped pacing. Well, it wasn't us. Maybe someone watched you open it. Or maybe you wrote the combination down somewhere and someone found it. I never wrote it down. Then I don't know what to tell you. We didn't do it. Why would we? We live here, for crying out loud. I walked to the kitchen phone. Evelyn had started crying silently. Austin watched me with the intensity of a cornered animal. I dialed 911. Fine, Austin shouted. Call them. We've got nothing to hide. They're sending someone, I said, hanging up. We'll wait. The next hour crawled by. The doorbell's ring cut through the tension. Detective Mark Caldwell had tired eyes. He went to my study. No forced entry. Whoever did this knew the combination. Only my daughter and her husband know it besides me. Caldwell interviewed Austin first. Austin's voice carried, earnest and wounded. Detective, I can't believe this happened in our own home. Victor's been so good to us. Who would do something like this? He insisted they were home all day, heard nothing, and suggested a cleaning person might have known about the safe. Evelyn's interview was briefer. She could barely speak through her tears. Caldwell finished dusting for prints. Only my fingerprints on the safe's dial and handle. Whoever had opened it had worn gloves or wiped it clean. He paused, meeting my eyes. Without physical evidence or a witness, these cases are difficult. The lack of forced entry complicates things. He handed me his card. Over the following days, I watched. Austin began taking phone calls outside, pacing, speaking in low, urgent tones. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Evelyn stopped eating much. Dark circles bloomed under her eyes. When I entered a room, she'd flinch. I said nothing. I waited. 9 days after the theft, I woke past midnight to raised voices downstairs. I moved quietly to the top of the stairs, staying in the darkness. Austin's harsh whisper carried clearly. Pull yourself together. He doesn't know anything concrete. You keep acting like this. You'll give us away. I can't do this anymore, Austin. He's my father. He looks at me and I can't stop it. Evelyn's voice was thick with tears. We're in this together, remember? You want to lose everything. A sound like a hand hitting a wall. The items are already gone. We can't undo this. Just stay calm and keep your mouth shut. Silence. Then Evelyn's muffled sobbing. I'll take care of it, Austin said, his voice dropping lower. I stood completely still. The hurt I'd been carrying crystallized into something harder, clearer. I was no longer the victim. I was the prosecutor, building a case against my own family. Several nights passed. It was past 2 o'clock in the morning when I heard the front door click open. I moved to the window fast but quiet. Austin walked down the porch steps, dressed in dark clothes, carrying a small black briefcase. He looked left, then right, then hurried toward his car parked at the curb. That briefcase, I'd never seen it before. My son-in-law, the one I considered my son, quietly left the house at night with a briefcase in his hands. His strange behavior in recent days had aroused my suspicions, so like an old prosecutor, I decided to follow him. He rushed to the river, threw the briefcase into the black water, and ran away. I dove in after it, retrieved it, but when I opened it, my heart stopped. You won't believe what was inside. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. I grabbed my keys, pulled on my dark jacket, and went down the back stairs, out the rear door across the yard to the garage. I had my car started and rolling onto the street 30 seconds after Austin's tail lights disappeared around the corner. I stayed back, letting 2 blocks open up between us, relying on old surveillance instincts. Austin took surface streets, heading east, toward the Willamette River, cutting through industrial areas. I killed my headlights when he slowed down. My heart hammered, but my hands were steady. Austin parked near the East Bank Esplanade. I pulled over 300 feet back, cut the engine, and watched. He got out, briefcase in hand, and stood by his car, scanning the street. Satisfied he was alone, he started down the slope toward the river. I waited 30 seconds, then followed on foot, staying in the shadows. He stopped at the water's edge, looked back, and then hurled the briefcase. The arc was wide and desperate, and the splash sounded too loud in the quiet night. Austin didn't wait. He ran back up the slope. His car roared to life and pulled away with too much speed. I walked down to where he'd stood. The water was dark and cold. The briefcase floated about 15 feet out, caught in the shallows. I didn't hesitate. I walked straight into the water. The cold hit like a physical blow. I pushed forward until the water reached my thighs, until my fingers closed around the briefcase handle. I dragged it back to shore. I popped the latches. Inside, wrapped carefully in layers of plastic bags, my father's Rolex, the silver cigarette case, stacks of $100 bills, completely dry, all of it, everything he'd stolen. I stood there knee-deep in the freezing February water. Austin had stolen from me. When Detective Caldwell started investigating, Austin panicked and decided to destroy the evidence. But he'd failed, and now I held every piece of proof I needed. I waded back to shore, my legs numb. The briefcase felt heavy from the weight of what the contents represented: betrayal, evidence, justice. I drove home slowly. My mind was already 10 steps ahead, planning, organizing, building the case. Austin thought he disposed of the problem and would sleep soundly, believing he was safe. He had no idea what was coming. The house was dark when I pulled into the garage. I sat in the car for a moment, letting the cold certainty settle. This wasn't about anger anymore. This was about justice. The next morning, I drove downtown. At my bank, I rented a safety deposit box. In the privacy of the vault room, I placed the briefcase inside, photographed it with my phone for documentation of the chain of custody, and locked it away. The evidence was now protected. Over the following days, I moved into the next phase. I bought a small security camera and installed it in the hallway, positioned on top of a bookshelf. In Oregon, property owners can legally record in their own homes. On the 3rd day, I captured exactly what I needed. Austin and Evelyn stood in the hallway speaking in low voices. Austin's tone was dismissive and confident. "Stop worrying. I took care of it. The old man never found anything. We're clear." Evelyn's voice was tight. Are you sure? He's been watching us differently. He's got nothing, Austin said. Just relax and act normal. I replayed it 5 times, transcribed every word, and marked the file as Exhibit C. I made copies and stored them in separate locations, everything admissible. I reached out to former colleagues. A retired judge gave me the name I was looking for, Rebecca Chan, a family law and estate planning specialist known for surgical precision and pure strategy. I assembled everything into a leather portfolio, printed timeline, police report copy, bank documentation, and the USB drive containing the video recordings. I walked into Rebecca Chan's office and methodically laid out the evidence, speaking the way I'd spoken in court for 38 years. Facts, timeline, evidence, conclusion. Rebecca reviewed everything. This is remarkably thorough, Mr. Bennett. You've built a prosecutor's case against your own family. Old habits, I said. She leaned back. We have criminal options, but there's another approach. More elegant, more devastating, and it keeps you in complete control. She pulled out a whiteboard and began diagramming the strategy. Modify your will. Leave them each exactly $1, a token amount, deliberately excluding them from any substantial inheritance. This prevents any contest. Civil recovery. File a civil suit for recovery of stolen property. The evidence meets the preponderance standard easily. They'll face a court judgment, public record. Eviction. Serve them a 90-day no-cause eviction notice for your property. By April, they'll be facing legal action on 3 fronts simultaneously. They'll lose their inheritance, lose their home, and have a theft judgment on their permanent records. All completely lawful. Which interests you more? Public punishment or private justice? She asked. I want them to understand they can't steal from me and hide behind family loyalty. I want consequences that last. Then we move forward. We'll draft the new will this week. We'll file the civil suit next week. The eviction notice goes out simultaneously. 3 days later, I sat in my office reading the draft will. Clean, precise, devastating. My estate would go to the Northwest Legal Aid Foundation. Austin Carlton and Evelyn Bennett would each receive exactly $1. The language was explicit. This nominal bequest is intentional and serves to demonstrate that the testator has not forgotten these individuals, but has deliberately chosen to exclude them from any substantial inheritance. I called Rebecca to schedule the notary appointment for the following week. This was the point of no return. I felt no hesitation, only cold certainty. My daughter would inherit nothing. The notary appointment took place on a Thursday afternoon. Rebecca met me in the lobby of a small business complex. We took the elevator to the 3rd floor in silence. Patricia's office was simple and professional. Patricia verified my identity and asked the required questions. Mr. Bennett, are you making these changes to your will voluntarily without coercion or undue influence? Completely voluntarily, I said. I'm of sound mind and clear purpose. And you understand that this will revoke all previous wills and testamentary documents? I understand perfectly. I signed where she indicated. She applied her official seal with a firm press. The sound of that definitive stamp felt like closing a door that would never open again. Rebecca presented the eviction notices next. Under Oregon law, I could terminate residency with 90 days written notice when no formal lease existed. I signed both copies. Back in her office, Rebecca advised, don't serve the eviction notice yet. Let them discover the will change first. We want them off balance, reactive. When they're panicking about losing their inheritance, we hit them with the eviction. Maximum psychological impact. You think like a prosecutor, I said. She smiled slightly. I think like someone who wins. I drove home with the certified copies secured. Over the following week, I maintained the facade. I could see Austin relaxing day by day. He thought the danger had passed. One evening at dinner, Austin suggested a family vacation. Evelyn, however, watched me with worried eyes. Dad, are you feeling okay? You seem different lately. I feel fine, Evelyn. Better than I have in weeks, actually. I'm just enjoying my home and my life. I returned to my office, hearing Austin's carefree laugh from downstairs. Let him laugh. Let him think he's safe. The trap was set. Rebecca executed the next phase with surgical precision. Early April, she scheduled a client meeting at Common Grounds, a coffee shop where Evelyn often worked. She left the folder containing a copy of my will on the table, visible but not obviously displayed, and walked to the counter. Evelyn, passing the table, saw the header, Last Will and Testament of Victor Bennett. She pulled out her phone and photographed each page quickly. She sat back down, heart pounding, and opened the photos. The house, the savings, the investments, everything to the Northwest Legal Aid Foundation. She and Austin each received $1. The words intentional bequest to prevent claims of omission were crystal clear. That evening, she met Austin at the door, phone in trembling hands. Austin, you need to see this. He looked at the screen. Where did you get this? When was it signed? He demanded. 3 weeks ago, late March. Austin's explosion was immediate. He stormed toward my study. What is this? You changed your will. You're cutting us out completely. That appears to be a photograph of a legal document. Where did you obtain it? I leaned back calmly. You can't do this after everything we've done for you. What exactly have you done for me, Austin? My voice was ice. Lived here rent-free for 3 years, eaten my food, used my utilities. Oh yes, you stole from me. I never, that's insane. You have no proof. I stood, removed a thick folder from my filing cabinet, and held it where he could see. I have plenty of proof, Austin. The question is whether I choose to use it. Evelyn appeared in the doorway, tears streaming. Dad, please. We can fix this. I don't think anything, Evelyn. I know what happened, and this is the consequence. I handed one of the envelopes I'd retrieved from my desk drawer to each of them. Official 90-day eviction notices. You have 90 days to find other accommodations. 90 days. You're evicting us. Your own daughter. You've been living here without a lease. Oregon law allows termination of residency with 90 days notice. Consider yourself noticed. We'll fight this. We'll challenge the will. We'll prove you're not competent. I've been evaluated by 3 independent physicians in the past month. Perfect cognitive function. I had a notary verify my competence. But please hire an attorney. Waste your money. You're going to need it. Evelyn whispered, How can you be so cruel? And that makes your betrayal so much worse. The certified mail arrived in early May. Austin had hired an attorney, Gerald Hicks, and filed a petition challenging my will, claiming I was not of sound mind and was susceptible to undue influence. Rebecca was dismissive. Standard desperation move. We prepared for exactly this. The hearing was scheduled for mid-May at the Multnomah County Courthouse. Evelyn was notably absent. Hicks presented his vague case. Rebecca demolished each point, presenting the 3 medical evaluations, certifying my perfect cognitive function, the notary's sworn statement, and 2 retired judges as character witnesses. Judge Sandra Kellerman questioned me directly. Mr. Bennett, can you tell me why you changed your will? Certainly, Your Honor. I discovered that family members residing in my home had stolen valuable property belonging to me. I concluded that individuals willing to commit theft against me should not benefit from my estate. This decision was made rationally and deliberately. You seem quite familiar with the state law, Mr. Bennett. I was a prosecutor for 38 years, Your Honor. The law is not foreign territory to me. Judge Kellerman found no evidence of diminished capacity. The petition is denied. Outside the courtroom, Austin looked shaken. Rebecca approached him with a new document folder. Mr. Carlton, you're being served. He opened the folder. Civil lawsuit for recovery of stolen property. The complaint included everything. The briefcase recovery, the recorded conversations, and the police report. His face went from pale to ashen. Over the following weeks, Austin tried to mount a defense, but his resources were depleted. Evelyn made her crucial decision. She wouldn't participate in defending the civil suit. She confirmed it in a brief, painful conversation. You did this for yourself, Austin. I just went along with it because I was weak. I'm done. Their marriage fractured completely. Rebecca's updates were regular. Austin's position was weakening. His attorney was ineffective. His finances were depleted, and the eviction deadline was approaching. Early June, just days away. Late one evening, I sat in my study reviewing the case documents. I thought about Austin's desperate petition, his weak attorney, his crumbling marriage. He thought he could steal and hide behind family bonds. He thought I was too old, too trusting, too weak to fight back properly. Every assumption had been wrong. I wasn't fighting back. I was systematically dismantling his life, using the very legal system I'd served for decades. This wasn't revenge. It was accountability. The eviction date arrived in 10 days. Then the civil trial. Each piece was falling into place exactly as planned. Early June arrived with morning sunlight and the knock I'd been expecting. I opened the front door to find Deputy James Warren with Rebecca standing beside him. "I'm Deputy Warren, Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. I'm here to enforce Eviction Order 2025 CV00007. I stepped aside. "Please come in, Deputy. The residents are upstairs." Evelyn came downstairs first. "How much time do we have?" "Until 5 o'clock this evening, ma'am." A rented moving truck arrived. Austin and Evelyn began carrying boxes down. I remained in my study, watching occasionally. Austin passed my doorway multiple times, shooting angry glares, but saying nothing. Around 3 p.m., Evelyn appeared at my study door. "Dad, I need to say I'm so sorry. I know it doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know I'm sorry." I looked at her for a long moment. "Sorry doesn't return what was stolen, Evelyn. It doesn't undo betrayal. You made your choices. These are the consequences." "I know. I'm your daughter. Doesn't that mean anything?" "It means your betrayal hurt more than it would have from a stranger. That's what it means." She turned and left. By 4:30, the truck was loaded. Austin held the keys in his closed fist for a moment, then let them fall into Deputy Warren's palm. Austin walked to the truck, without looking back. Evelyn followed, her shoulders slumped. I watched from the window as the moving truck pulled away to their cheap apartment on Portland's outskirts. I changed all exterior locks and installed a new alarm system. My house was mine again. I poured myself a whiskey, acknowledging that something wrong had been corrected. 2 weeks later, the civil trial began. Rebecca's presentation was methodical and devastating. She displayed photographs of the recovered items and played the audio recording of Austin saying, "I took care of it." I testified about the river recovery. I heard the front door open around 2 o'clock in the morning. I looked out my window and saw Austin Carlton leaving with a briefcase. I followed him to the Willamette River. I watched him throw the briefcase into the water. After he left, I retrieved it. Inside was my property, my father's watch, the cigarette case, and my cash. Gerald Hicks attempted cross-examination, but my prosecutor experience showed. I answered precisely, never getting rattled. Judge Kellerman returned with her verdict. I find the defendant, Austin Carlton, liable for theft by conversion. The evidence is overwhelming. Judgment for plaintiff in the amount of $29,500 for return of stolen property plus $12,000 in attorney fees. Total judgment $41,500 payable within 90 days. Outside the courthouse, Rebecca asked, "Do you feel vindicated?" "I feel that justice was served. That's enough." Rebecca mentioned the final step, the criminal charges. Detective Caldwell can reopen the case now that we have the civil verdict, if you want to pursue it. "I'm ready," I said. I spent the next day organizing my evidence package, a 3-ring binder with tabs for the investigation, recovery, civil proceedings, and evidence. I was a prosecutor building a case. 2 days later, I sat across from Detective Caldwell. "This is remarkably complete, Mr. Bennett. You've done my job for me. I was a prosecutor for 38 years. I know what you need. This is theft in the first degree. Class C felony, 5-year maximum sentence. I'll recommend prosecution." 3 weeks later, Caldwell called. Grand jury returned an indictment. Arrest warrant issued this morning. We picked him up an hour ago. Austin's employer placed him on unpaid leave. At the preliminary hearing in early August, the judge found probable cause. Austin's attorney warned him he would lose at trial. Hicks negotiated a plea agreement. Austin would plead guilty to theft in the first degree in exchange for probation instead of prison. The deal included 18 months supervised probation, 200 hours of community service, restitution, and a permanent felony conviction. At the plea hearing, Austin formally pleaded guilty. "Yes, Your Honor," his voice barely audible. Judge Kellerman sentenced him according to the plea. Outside the courthouse, I saw Austin one final time. He was haggard, defeated, hollowed out. Our eyes met briefly. His expression was empty. I felt no triumph, no satisfaction, just completion. Late August arrived. I sat on the porch with coffee. My house, my time, my peace. The spare bedrooms had been repainted, clean. No trace of former occupants. The house felt lighter. One morning, a letter arrived, forwarded by Rebecca. Evelyn's handwritten apology. She explained she and Austin had divorced, and she was living alone. She took responsibility for her silence. "You're my father. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm asking anyway, not for money or inheritance, just for the possibility of being your daughter again someday." I read the letter 3 times. She was my daughter, but she'd betrayed me. The pain of that betrayal hadn't faded. I sat with the letter for several days. Ultimately, I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty, but because I'd said everything that needed saying. She'd made choices. Consequences followed. Perhaps years from now, there might be room for limited contact. But not now, not yet. I filed the letter away in a desk drawer, not thrown away, but not answered. Some doors remain closed until time decides otherwise. In early September, I met Rebecca one final time to close out all legal matters. She confirmed everything. The civil judgment remained enforceable for 10 years. Austin's probation would last 18 months. His criminal record was permanent. My will was updated and secured. Everything was documented, official, complete. "Do you feel vindicated?" she asked. I considered the question carefully. I feel that justice was served. I don't feel happy about it. This wasn't about happiness. My daughter betrayed me. My son-in-law stole from me, but they faced consequences, and the law worked as it should. That's enough. Most people in your position would want revenge, emotional satisfaction from seeing them suffer. I'm not most people. I wanted what the law promises, consequences for wrongdoing. I got that. The suffering that resulted was their choice, not my objective. We shook hands professionally. That afternoon, I drove to my bank. I accessed my safety deposit box and removed my father's Rolex watch. It had been cleaned, serviced by a watchmaker, restored to perfect condition. I sat in the bank's private viewing room, holding it in both hands. The watch represented more than monetary value. It represented family legacy, generational connection, trust. My father gave it to me when I passed the bar exam 40 years ago. He said it represented time. That time would test my principles, and the watch would remind me to hold steady. Austin tried to steal that. Not just the object, but what it meant. He failed. I fastened the watch onto my wrist. It fit perfectly. The weight was familiar and comforting. I drove home, parked in my garage, entered my house. I walked through each room slowly, taking inventory of my reclaimed space. Everything as it should be. My house, my possessions, my peace. 67 years to learn this lesson. Protect what's yours, not with walls or weapons, but with boundaries and consequences. The story ends on a quiet morning in early September. I'm sitting on my porch with coffee, my father's watch on my wrist, newspaper beside me. I'm not thinking about revenge or justice anymore. Those chapters are closed. I'm thinking about the volunteer work at the legal clinic this afternoon, the dinner I'll cook tonight, the book I'm reading. Simple things, free things. I look at the watch, check the time. The second hand sweeps smoothly around the face. Precise, reliable, enduring, like justice itself. I smile slightly, take a sip of coffee, and begin my day. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the right. Thank you for watching.